Hey guys, my previous Barbarian and Druid build was so popular, I decided to make another one, so here we go. This time using the Spore Druid. Now, to begin this, we are going to start with the Barbarian. So I'm using our good man, Houston here. We're going to go Barbarian. Now, we're going to want to change our stats a little bit. The reason being is, we're really going to want to focus on Wisdom, for obviously Druid abilities, Strength, for Barbarian abilities, Dexterity for armor and stuff, as well as Constitution. So things are going to be a little crazy, but this is how we're going to build it. I would put Charisma down to 8, bump your Wisdom up. I would take a +2 from Strength and put it into Wisdom, and put this into Strength. So you have something along the lines of this. I would bump your Constitution down, Wisdom up 1, Dexterity up 1. This is how I build it. Alternatively, you could do that in verse. It's totally up to you, but this would be my build that we could use here per se. For your skill proficiencies, really you can go whatever you fancy. Animal handling, intimidation, both are really good. Out of these, I'd probably take that. You could also put in nature. So you could do something like that, and then you've got +1s, or at least a positive number, as opposed to a +5 and a negative. Again, totally up to you. Okay, for level 2, we are sticking with Barbarian, and this is a very easy level up. We just confirm it, pretty much. Get Reckless Attack, until your next turn, you have advantage on attack rolls. The enemies also have advantage against you. And we have Danger Sense, which is also very good. Okay, at level 3, we get to pick our specialization. Now, please bear in mind, this build is not optimal, nor are you really going to be using your rages for this, but we are going to stick with Wild Heart. And obviously, you have an option of 5 different ones here, but the one that I think is the best, not only for this build, but also just in general, is Bear Heart. While raging, you can use Unrelenting Ferocity and have resistance to all damage except psychic damage. Now, the reason I think this works best is just because if you do decide you want to rage, and you can with this build, you won't be able to do half the spells because you have to concentrate on them, but this will allow you to have that. But we are going to do this in a way that allows you to rage while having buffs from spells. It would just be concentration ones you can't do. So accept the Bear Heart, and we get some lovely piercings to make him look even more awesome. Okay, we're sticking with Barbarian at level 4. We get our feat. Now for this, we're obviously sticking with Bear Heart. But the feat of choice here is Savage Attacker. When you make a melee weapon attack, you roll your damage dice twice and use the highest result. I think Savage Attacker is great. If you really wanted to, you could go for the ASI. But I think we're continuing throughout the game, you will pick up items that improve your strength, or your dexterity, or your constitution. I wouldn't worry too much about this. In my opinion, Savage Attacker is the way to go. Okay, so we are sticking with Barbarian for level 5 for fast movement. So movement increased by 3 meters while not wearing heavy armor, as well as for extra attack. You can make an additional free attack after making an unarmed or weapon attack. If you gain the extra attack feature more than one class, they don't add together. So please bear that in mind if you are going to do other builds for this game. But extra attack is why we really want the 5th level in Barbarian here. And at level 6 is where we dip into our next class, and of course it is the Druid. Now really you can do this in any order you want to. You could, as long as you start with the Barbarian, just for the proficiencies you start with, you can really take your levels anywhere else. It just depends on which order you want to get your feats in, or your class abilities, that sort of thing. But obviously level 6 is still quite early into the game. You'll probably be end of Act 1, maybe early Act 2 at a thought. But really, it's up to you. Now for this, I would suggest Guidance, because I think Guidance is great, and possibly Poison Spray, because this will come into play. If not, Thorn Whip is very nice. Really, you can do whichever ones you want here. There's not much, deliberation. Thorn Whip is really good though. Pulls a creature 3 minutes close to you. So thinking about it now, I've just talked myself into it. Thorn Whip is really good, and you're going to see why later in the video. And for all your prepared spells, again, you can really take anything you fancy if you want to. For this build, I am doing things that will buff you outside of combat and last while you're raging. So Long Strider is one. Enhanced Leap is one. These two will last once you rage. They're not concentration, so you can throw these up and then perform your rage, and they will last. And it just means you have more movability and adaptability on the battlefield. I think a healing spell, Healing Word, is always helpful. It never hurts to have a healing spell on someone else. And I'm biased, but I think Thunder Wave is one of the best spells in the game, so I will be taking Thunder Wave. Okay, level 7, we are sticking with Druid. We are taking Druid, as I said, all the way to level 12 now. And we're taking Circle of Spores. Now again, we get to pick one extra spell. Take really whatever you fancy. Speak of Animals is always good. I think that's a great spell. Fog Cloud is also really helpful. It is concentration though, so you will lose it once you rage. Charm Person, again, can be very, very helpful, but not really perfect when you're in a rage. So for me, I would take either Speak of Animals or Fairy Fire. I think Fairy Fire outside of combat is such a great spell. But for this, we'll take Speak of Animals. Okay, we are at Druid level 3, and now again we get a level 2 spell. And there's a few options you could take here. Barkskin, I think this is an amazing spell as well. It is concentration, so you will lose it once you go into rage. But while you're in your Druid form, let's say your Druid form, while you're not raging, Barkskin is a great spell you can have. But to make this build really work, protection from poison, and this will make a lot of sense. But touch a creature and neutralize all poisons affecting it, and grant it protection against poisonous influences. Grants advantage on saving throws against being poisoned and resistant to poison damage. This lasts until a long rest. You can throw this up before battle. It will last through your rage, and this is the key spell to pick here if you're following this build closely. Okay, Druid level 4 now. We get another cantrip, so really you could take anything. We're just going to take the Poison Spray, because why not? Resistance is always helpful as well, but again, it's concentration, so it really depends. But the feat you want to take here, and I would 100% recommend this, is Mobile. Your movement speed increases, and difficult terrain doesn't slow you down when you dash. If you move after making a melee attack, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from your target. And this will make more sense once we get into the combat tutorial, but the don't provoking opportunity attacks is really what we're sticking with this for. And we also get a distance, we can move an extra 3 meters per turn. So this combined with Long Strider or Enhanced Leap is perfect. You almost become roguelike in your way. You can traverse the battlefield, but you deal so much damage. Okay, again, for your spell here, again, you can really take anything, Bark Skin if you want to. I'm just going to take Lesser Restoration. Cure a creature from disease, poison, paralysis, or blindness. Now we're at that mighty level 10, we're in double figures, and we're sticking with the Druid for level 5. Now, for a third level spell, there is only really one option you want to take here, and it's Plant Growth. Now, for a level 3 spell, there is only really one option you want to take here, and that is Plant Growth. Make weeds burst from the ground and smother the area. Creatures moving through the weeds have their movement speed quartered. This is really good for holding enemies off, and with Mobile combined with, if you can get things like freedom of movement or anything else on your allies, this is amazing for putting down, really slowing people down, similar to the Black Tendrils, and just throwing so much extra damage on with your big DPS characters before they can get to your smaller, more squishy characters like a Gale, for example. Now, Druid level 6, we are level 11 overall, and we have Fungal Infestation. Raising Mildred, mold-encrusted zombie from a corpse. This is phenomenal. We basically just get a necromancy-esque follower help us in battle. And it's so good. It's a reaction, so you don't have to worry about working it into your sort of turn and whatnot. Just use it as your reaction, and it's perfect. So it means you could slay one of your enemies and then instantly just raise them as a zombie follower. Okay, for a level 3 spell, I really like Sleet Storm. The only downside is a concentration, so you have got that to work with. I think Daylight is also a very good option. Enchantment item, to shine like the sun or summon a sphere of sunlight that dispels all darkness around it. So that is what we will take. And we're at our final level, which is level 7 Druid now. Have a bunch of stuff here. You might be wondering why we have taken the Spore Druid and we're not talking about the spores themselves. And we will. We're going to get to that in a second, I promise. But from here, for your spell. Now there's a lot of good options here, but I think the best option, and the only option you should take, is Conjure Woodland Being. Conjure Dryad to fight alongside you. She can use Nature Step, Entangle, create enemies, and summon a Woodwode. This is so good because they can summon a Woodwode, so your summon gets a summon. So suddenly you've gone from 1, you make your summon, so you now got 2, and then they get a summon, which is now 3. Couple this with the Spore Corpse you can raise, and you could have a whole team of people just on your one character. It's a phenomenal spell. Okay, so we have kitted out our Druid house here. And as I was saying, we do have a bunch of spells we can use. We've also got such good things like Gashman's Form, Animate Dead, Loads of really good spells. And again, coupled with items you get from, coupled with abilities you get from items. For example, I have Misty Step on him. Really can make your turn on the battlefield so good. But there's a few things here that we're going to worry about, and it is things such as symbiotic energy. So we are going to go into a combat tutorial. We're going to do things like this, and I'm going to show off how this build works, and you're going to see just how good a Druid Barbarian can be that doesn't need to wild shape. Okay, so you can see we're in Halsin's turn now. As I was talking about, we can do so many good things here. So let us start with plant growth. Now again, we can pop this on the floor here, and you'll see how it just slows everyone down within here. So if this person was to run into here, they would now be stuck. And we have the ability that we can just walk through here. Now again, that has used our action, so we are a little stuck, but we still have things we can do, such as Pommel Strike. So we can still do damage despite the fact that we've still used a spell to cast this. You can see there just how slow they moved through. So this really helps play into the barbarian aspect of this. Symbiotic Entity. Now this is one of the key features of a Spore Druid. Gain 28 temporary hit points and deal an additional 1d6 necrotic damage while you have them. Cast Halo of Spores with double damage. So we'll cast Symbiotic Entity. And now we have just buffed ourselves with 26 extra hit points. And we're ready to just take whatever we can. We can also do Fungal Infestation now. We killed one of these little rats down here. So if we were to do Fungal Infestation, cast it on the rat, and there you go, we now have a summon with a fungal zombie. And you can just see how much damage we took then and how much we just tanked it. Now, we'll show you just how much damage we can do now that we've got the symbiotic entity. So this is our first attack. You see we did 14 damage with that, and that's not raging. But we can do reckless attack. And there you go, another 14 damage. So 28 damage across 2 attacks isn't too bad. We can then do another fungal infestation. It will obviously dissolve the one there. But it still allows us to have things like our bonus action, healing word, misty step. So we could do a healing word. We could heal up our teammate over here. Or we can do it on ourselves. And just buff ourselves a little bit more. Okay, so you just see we casted Symbiotic Entity again, and you can just basically just keep popping on yourself, and it's amazing. It also does have limitations, but then we can do Halo of Spores. Now let's say we cast it here. There you go, you see we did 9 damage from afar, and they're still trapped within this thing here. This also still allows us to do our bonus action, so then we could Misty Step out and come over here, for example. Like that. Okay, so what you didn't notice was that when we killed this person here, because they have been surrounded in all of our stuff and were killed by this fungal zombie, we have a new zombie. It is in our turn order here, and it is another follower for us. That we can now move. Now, unfortunately, it does control itself, but it's just one extra person on the battlefield for us. Okay, so as I said, that was a fight doing the most basic of stuff if you really want to make it a real simple one without doing anything. Now we're going to start buffing. So, Long Strider. That buff will last during our rage if we choose to do so. We have other things we can still do, such as Enhanced Sleep. There you go. Now these only last 10 turns. But we are also going to do Conjure Woodland Being. So now we have our summon here. So now we have our zombie still, and we have our dryad. And we're going to get into combat. Stop. Okay, so you can see we picked a fight. Now we're putting ourselves in the middle here. Now, ideally you want a wizard or someone to throw up a bunch of poison that you can sort of hang around in. Okay, so we are with our dryad. Now, as I said before, they can summon their own summons. So we want Fallen Lover. And now here we are. So we now have a huge party of people. You can see here, Halcyon has 3 summons alone. And they can all just do as much damage as they want. And you'll see just how much damage the Dryad can do. There you go, and they are very beefy. Very, very beefy. We're still in the combat here, and you can see we've got a person over here and a person over here. Now, for the Spore Druid to really work, obviously you need to do your Symbiotic Entity, so let's cast that. But then, let's do our Bear Heart. And as you'll see, these have stacked, so not only are we now raging, but we also have our Bear Heart. So we can now move in close, and we'll just let them do some damage to us, hopefully. It also means that you can throw both these up, and you still have your reaction to then do Halo of Spores. Like here, so you can still do a little bit of damage while getting yourself set up for the fight. Now, the benefit of all the Enhanced Leap and whatnot is we can dance around the battlefield like I was saying. So you can see how far away we are over here. With Enhanced Leap, it is not a problem. We are now all the way up here. And we can still wail on the damage. We still have our Symbiotic Entity. And we can still use our reaction to then cast Halo of Spores. And because we hit them with a melee attack and we have our mobile feat, we can now back away and we don't trigger the attack of opportunity. So this means we can use this build to dance around the battlefield. If you put this with things like Misty Step and whatnot, you are really just laughing at how versatile your character becomes at just practically being a rogue-like character who can dart around, deal bulk load of damage. Whereas you see just said they had to disengage. Because of our mobile ability, we don't have to do that. We don't have to waste a turn doing so. Now once again we're up here, so we can do some fun things. Everyone is obviously on the floor below. So we can decide to do something such as, when I can see it, shove. Unfortunately they saved, but we could have kicked them down the bottom to just basically get them off of here. To let our enemies deal with them. Unfortunately now we just have to slaughter them. And we can still use our reaction to do some spores. Tiny bits of damage, so it's not much, but it is a lot that adds up over time. And just for fun, we're going to see if we can 300 them with how powerful this build is. Nice little shove. Now hopefully... And that is how you do it. We threw them for miles. Okay, so obviously we just 300 them off the arena, which was amazing. And you can see a bunch of corpses here. So fungal infestation. Once it will let me target. And there you go, now we have 5 summons. We can come over here. And do the same thing. Now, it is a fungal infestation charge. Please just bear that in mind. So you have only got a limited amount. But we could raise them. We can come over here. We can raise them. And now we have a small army of summons that we can now just throw around the battlefield. As you see here. A little posse. Now this build really works when you can fully use some poison damage and when you have some of the best Spore Druid gear. For example, when you have the, in my opinion, the best Spore Druid armor of the Spore Keeper. This allows you to cast 3 spores that you wouldn't normally have access to because we haven't got the levels in Spore Druid, including a Spore of Haste, a Spore of Confusion or something like that. It basically means they want enemies to wander around, do nothing, but also a Spore of Poison, and it means you can stand in the poison because we're immune to it and just hit enemies as hard as we can. We can also throw up a Haste Spore, have it just on top of all of our characters so that they get hasted every single turn. Small little benefits like that. Throwing a wizard in who can do cloud kill, and then just letting your barbarian keep everyone within that cloud kill by just hitting one, moving to the next person, hitting with your extra attack, keeping them as condensed into that cloud of poison as possible. Now, I hope you've enjoyed. Please let me know if you did. Let me know in the comments below what you would change about this build. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please drop it a like. That helps me amazingly. If you're new and you're not subscribed but you'd like to, that would also be amazing. And hopefully, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.